And so I'm going to start with those who submitted a speaker slip, and I have in line to speak tonight. And so our first speaker is Courtney Norton. Courtney, go ahead and promote you right now to a panelist. Let's see how this goes. Just a second. Courtney should be on. And then Courtney, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You can introduce yourself, and then you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Courtney Norton, and I am a resident of Alpine. I would like to thank the Alpine Community Planning Group for changing the format for receiving public comments and allowing the public to speak on our own behalf. Hopefully now ACPG can put names to faces and not see the community as just opposition. After last month's meeting, I was completely discouraged and appalled at how a couple of members of ACPG reacted to the public's participation in the meetings. As elected officials, you represent the community. If you do not have the time to listen to the community, then, in my opinion, you are not living up to the community's or the ACPG's expectations. Regarding the proposed county park, my personal concerns for the proposed park are the environmental impacts it will have on Wrights Field ecological. With the development of a park to this magnitude, it is completely naive to say that the park will not have impacts on Wrights Field proper. We are blessed as residents of Alpine to have this preserve, which is part of the South County Multi-Species Conservation Plan and has native grasslands, which are rare habitat in San Diego County. Once this land is gone, it is gone forever. Preserve Alpine's Heritage is a group of concerned Alpine residents who care deeply about the future of Alpine. We too are volunteering time, energy, and resources to make a difference for our community we all love. As leadership of Preserve Alpine's Heritage, we want to work with ACPG to focus on dialogue, collaboration, and ultimately mutual compromise to find the best situation and solution for all residents of Alpine. We want the opportunity to open the dialogue and engage with the Alpine Community Planning Group. Thank you for your commitment to Alpine, and I look forward to my continued involvement in the future of our community.
You're muted, Travis.
I'm done.
Hey, I knew we were going to work through the issues tonight. Thank you so much, Courtney. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and change it back to attendee. Let's see. Change role to attendee. Thank you. All right. The next speaker I have in order is Julie Simper. Let me find Julie. All right. Let's see. Then Julie, once you start to speak, there we go. I'll give you a wave at about 15 seconds if you're getting close to time, and then I'll let you know when we're at 3 minutes. But thank you so much.
Okay. So quickly, my name is Julie Simper. I'm a 10-year resident of Alpine, and also want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in person. We really welcome this format change as a way to avoid misrepresentations, but more importantly, foster mutual understanding, respect, and collaboration. On behalf of Preserve Alpine's Heritage and the hundreds of community members who have joined in support, I'm honored to now personally introduce you to who we are, our positions, and goals. Preserve Alpine's Heritage is a group of dedicated community advocates. We promote meaningful collaboration and creative partnerships with key stakeholders and public representatives like the Alpine Community Planning Group. We truly do embrace a diversity of views, and we are working toward the common goal of designing innovative, sustainable, and financially responsible solutions that bring the desired facilities and services to Alpine. However, we believe these must preserve the unique natural, cultural, and rural heritage of our community. Yes, we strongly oppose the scope of the proposed 26-acre all-in-one park with extensive sports and active recreational facilities at the location next to Wrights Field Ecological Preserve. Like this planning group did during its January meeting, voting not to accept the current design, we recognize there are simply too many serious concerns and unanswered questions to justify proceeding as proposed. However, We do support developing a nature-based park at this location, a park that minimizes the impact on the environment in rural setting, provides appropriate recreational activities that respect and complement the preserve, and protects the preserve from habitat destruction. Further, we believe that Alpine can do better than one large park fraught with design flaws and located far from the populated town center. Other towns, just like Alpine, have successfully created a network of small, local parks that offer unique and needed recreational activities throughout town while being connected by a system of safe walkways, bike paths, and trails. Alpine already has existing parks and sports facilities that are underutilized and in need of attention. Alpine also has locations better suited to many of the desired sports activities, such as the all-wheel park. The proven benefits of a network of local parks versus one large park are far-reaching and community-wide. Easier access for all, increased safety, revitalization of existing facilities, less environmental impact, increased physical activities, and connection to other resources such as schools, public transportation, libraries, and local businesses. We seek to work with the Alpine Community Planning Group to focus on dialogue, understanding, and compromise. We do not want to be limited solely to a position of opposition. Instead, we want to be seen as a new and growing community resource comprising people who, just like you, are truly committed to the betterment of Alpine and to the enhancement of the quality of life of all of its residents. We sincerely hope you accept this invitation for collaboration and agree that increased community engagement is something to be embraced and encouraged. To that end, we welcome all opportunities for partnership and specifically look forward to further information regarding the public meeting on park discussions as you announced during your meeting last month. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to go ahead. Next speaker is going to be Jonah Gould. Jonah, I'll move you up in just a second. Or Jonah Gula, I apologize. All right, Jonah, you can introduce yourself, and same thing, I'll give you a little wave when I get to about 15 seconds left, and then I'll let you know when you hit 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Travis. My name is Jonah Gula. I was born and raised in Alpine, and like Julie and Courtney, my comments are regarding the proposed park plan. But I want to take sort of a larger perspective about this plan. So, you know, as you already read in the statement about this group, you guys are an advisory board and you're representing us as a community. And obviously you all know that. But I think in the last meeting, many of us were questioning how objective your representation is. You know, it caused us to doubt the role of this planning group because you were basically sort of belittling those that are fighting against the agenda of some of the people in this group. And we can talk about all the number of issues of the proposed park for hours, but like I said, I want to address a larger perspective. I'm an ecologist, so my most prominent objections are environmental. And 2 meetings ago, when you guys were speaking about the group, George Burnett downplayed the environmental impact the park would have on Wrightsfield's ecosystem by suggesting that the relatively small portion of the natural habitat that would be lost was inconsequential. But I say that his comment is pretty moot because 99% of California's grasslands have been lost and almost nearly as much in San Diego County. And most people think that things like deforestation and climate change are real issues that are threatening our future and our environment. But I think it's really decisions at the local level that are one of the greatest threats to diminishing sensitive ecosystems like that of Wrightsfield. And since this group, the planning group, is one of those bodies of people that makes these decisions at the local level, I'm holding groups like this responsible for this perpetual chipping away of open spaces, not only in San Diego, not only in California, but in the United States. And this isn't meant to be like a spiteful accusation of this group, but rather something that's thought-provoking. I'm trying to appeal to your character as community members. Think about the smaller decisions that this planning group makes about what you might consider land use changes from a more small land use changes from a more holistic perspective. You have a role in shaping the future of Alpine based on your decisions and the advice that you give to the Board of Supervisors, and the implications go beyond just the immediate desires of something like a park with every bell and whistle imaginable. And so if the seemingly small decisions have these far-reaching implications, consider those that a park of this caliber have. So not only would you be putting a park in a proposed location that would be damaging to the grassland it will replace, but the bleed-over effects to the Backcountry Land Trust property would be significant, and really no one has addressed that bleed-over effect issue, not Parks and Rec, Backcountry Land Trust, or this group. And so I'm asking this group to not only consider... Okay. I'm asking you to not only consider the desire of the community at present, which are mixed, by the way, despite what some with an agenda would make you think, but also to consider what you want Alpine to look like in the future. Children will always have paved over and turfed land.
Thank you so much, and I hate to do this, but we do have, I'd let you go over for about 30, 40 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. I appreciate it. And this is how public meetings work. We do have a time limit, so I appreciate it, and I'm going to go ahead and cut you off there, and we'll move on to the next speaker, though. Thank you. Next speaker is going to be Annie Norton. Annie, I'm going to promote you right now. And the speaker after that is going to be Dominique Norton. Dominique, I'm going to also promote you just so we're ready when Annie's done. And then if you'll just stay muted while Annie speaks, and then we'll come to you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is Annie Norton.
We can hear you, Annie. And can you see us?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
And I know the plan. Don't worry, I'm under 3 minutes.
No problem, no problem. I just want to be able to give like a heads up. I don't want to cut anybody off, but if I give you 15 seconds notice and I give you a couple extra seconds, I just want to stand. So thank you so much, Annie.
Thank you. I'm Annie Norton, and I am a longtime resident of Alpine. Thank you for allowing each of us to speak and be heard tonight. This proposed park, as it is presently planned, will forever alter and change the character and ambiance of the bordering neighborhoods. I want to throw out a possible solution to many aspects of the park that just do not jive with this currently proposed location. We have an historical site, the Alpine Elementary School, AES for short, that is sitting idle and empty. AES could potentially be the perfect fit with regards to providing the activities in the park that should be clustered within the higher populated area of Alpine, which is our village center. These activities are the skateboard park, the bike park, the playing fields, the community garden, and the dog park. If designed properly, AES could become a stalwart example of incorporating historical value with the present needs of our community. AES already has the infrastructure. It has playing fields, it has reasonable off-street parking, it has existing water and sewer hookups, it addresses the traffic flow, fields could be lighted without causing light pollution. Situated at this school in the heart of our town, the bike, skate, and dog parks would not cause noise pollution. This is where these types of activities belong and are best served. Finally, the park issue is very complex. 3 minutes is just not enough time to deal with the complex issues involving this park. Mr. Lyons suggested at the last ACPG meeting that a special meeting could be held to allow more in-depth review. Could we schedule such a meeting? If that is not to your liking, this proposed park should be worthy of at least an agenda item. Whatever you decide, would you please inform the community of the specific date? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. And then, so Dominique's going to be up next. The speaker after that is going to be Robert Fagari. Robert, I'm going to go ahead and promote you as well. And just like Dominique did, If you can stay muted until Dominique's done, that'd be great. And Dominique?
Great, thank you. And thank you for your time. I am Dominique Norton, a 13-year resident of Alpine, property owner and a mother of a 21-month-old. I am speaking tonight in reference to the proposed park plan. At the February ACPG meeting, members of the planning group said that they had been working on finding a park land for 20 years and that those of us who are in opposition are ungrateful NIMBYs. I find this sentiment very upsetting. My question to you is, what have you been doing for the last 20 years? You are our leaders who appear to be unable to truly lead this community. You want to hang your hat on finally finding a solution to obtaining a park you have been working on. In that same time, Alpine's existing recreational facilities have fallen into disrepair. I would like to bring to your attention that on numerous occasions over the same 20 years, the county has issued various statements, some directly to the Alpine Community Planning Group, stating due to the significant biological resources, the proposed park location should never be developed. Specifically, in a July 22, 2005 letter to the ACPG from the Director of County Parks and Recreation, Renee Ball, stated, quote, as stated in previous correspondences, the county does not support developing Wrights Field into an active park. What has changed in the last 16 years? Why is the ACPG not pushing back on the county based on their previous correspondences and opinions? As someone who grew up here, I learned to appreciate our resources based on my time spent playing in Wrights Field Ecological Preserve, including the portion the county owns now. I spoke in front of the Board of Supervisors as a sixth grader advocating for the park protection, for the protection of this land for our future generations. As a mother, I am glad I stood up as a child for what was right, so now my child has the same access to open space I did. We are stewards of this earth. Our resources are even more imperiled now. It is more important now than ever. I plead with you to listen to the concerns of our beloved community members and be willing to stand up and make these hard decisions as our leaders. In addition, I formally request a copy of all correspondences between the Alpine Community Planning Group and the county regarding the proposed park location. Thank you very much for your time. Travis, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dominique. I'm going to go ahead and change your role to attendee. Robert, you're up, and give me 1 second. Amanda Pavich, I'm going to go ahead and promote you. You'll be next. Give me 1 minute. All right. Robert, when you're ready, go ahead and begin.
Hey, please call me Bob. Thank you so much. I'm about 10 seconds over the 3 minutes. Forgive me for that. I got my first car 54 years ago on my 16th birthday. I'd worked summers since I was a high school freshman and had saved all of my earnings for just such a purchase. With the blessings of my parents and my promise to pay for all associated costs, I plunked down $750 for a stripped-down Ford Econoline van that was perfect for backpacking in the Sierras. For you see, I was born with a penchant for exploring the world, and this was the first step in my master plan. About the same time, my parents told me they might be able to afford one of those foreign exchange student trades where I would swap places with another student in another land. I couldn't believe my good fortune at their offer. Unbeknownst to them, I had set my sights on someday traveling to France. I'd even found an old French language book and was trying to teach myself the lingo. I told them how thrilled I was with their offer. However, I ran into a buzzsaw when I shared my dream of going to France. For you see, I learned that my parents' dream was for me to go to Germany. My mother was convinced that learning German would better prepare me for her dream of me becoming a doctor. Ha! Why learn a Romance language when you can learn the far more practical language of physicians? Well, I pushed back on this idea of theirs, was told I was ungrateful, and that was the end of any discussion of my being a foreign exchange student. Many years later, in raising my own children, I was determined to avoid projecting any desired or unfulfilled dreams onto my children. I couldn't have guessed what they would become. As it turns out, my daughter is an environmental consultant in San Diego, and my son, well, he ran off and joined the circus, becoming a world-renowned aerial artist living in, you guessed it, Berlin, Germany. The ACPG is kind of like the parents of our Alpine community, and I'm afraid you're making the same mistake my parents and many others make in projecting your dreams onto our community. You generously, you really do want want to give us a very impressive supersized mega park at the expense, unfortunately, of Wrights Field. We, as your children, want you to explore the idea of spreading the same activities over a network of many smaller parks that take advantage of other available land and utilize our existing, poorly maintained joint use facilities. We envision a system of hike and bike paths that connect the parks together and provide safe passage for our children, your children. Unfortunately, when we speak our dream, as I did to my parents, you label us as ungrateful or unserious. We are very grateful for your tireless work for Alpine, but we're also very serious about wanting a network of parks, including a scaled-down version of your plan. Please listen to us and respect our dream for a better Alpine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. I'm going to go ahead and move Robert back. And next up will be Ms. Pavich. And tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I apologize.
It's Pavich, Amanda, and this is my husband, Miles.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, 2 for 1 in the screen.
All right.
I'm really glad to see everybody's face. This is really cool. I'm excited to have this format where we're able to just kind of talk face to face, even if it's over a screen. I always do better when I can see people's eyes. So my husband and I were recent Alpiners. We've been here for about a year. And I would like to comment and follow up on 2 things related to the proposed community park. The first one is the fact that this is now the 3rd time that we've asked for the serious issues regarding the life safety on South Grade Road, the life safety issues that happen with regards to this, and also the financial viability of the current park proposal to be addressed. And we have had no response or action taken. The second thing is that I want to comment on is the effort made by some in this planning group to mischaracterize and disparage those of us who oppose the park. As we stated previously, we're new to the Alpine community, and as such, we and our children, we're the future of Alpine. We moved here on purpose for the rural open spaces, for the access to nature, because this is, working towards being a dark sky community. And we feel like we've hit the jackpot. Like, we absolutely adore this community and the people. We live across South Grade from the proposed park. And with 3 very active boys, we are sports parents, and we are regular users of both active and passive recreation areas and parks. So to say that we're environmental extremists or that we're NIMBYs, it's not only truly disappointing behavior in a public official, but it couldn't be further than truth. We oppose this park because it's really a thoughtless design. We believe that anybody who takes forward-thinking community planning seriously should think that too. In fact, the county itself has previously gone on record opposing intensive land use at this site, and I know that Dominique mentioned one instance of that, but there's another one from the county dated 2009 that says, due to, and I'm quoting, due to significant and non-mitigable impacts, they cannot recommend this property for intensive land use. And I included the full reference for this at the bottom of my speaker slip that was circulated to you all via email. And I just want to say, we're your neighbors, and we share mutual friends with some of you. And if people in this community, like us, have honest concerns and just believe that there are really too many unanswered questions to move forward with the park in its current iteration, I don't think that our character needs to be called into question. Instead, as members of the Alpine community who have actually taken the time to put forth reasonable and thoughtful, well-researched alternatives, we need to be taken seriously, and we want a dialogue to be created by this group. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next speaker is, I have Becky Rapp. Give me 1 minute. All right, Ms. Rapp, I'm going to promote to panelist. And Ms. Rapp, there we go, you're unmuted.
Good evening.
My name is Becky Rapp. I am here to speak on a different topic. It is about the marijuana businesses possibly coming into the community. I'm a concerned parent and a public health educator. I'm pleased that the county extended the deadline on the proposed marijuana ordinance. It's extremely evident that planning groups and community members have been heard, and the county is providing more time for us to understand the ordinance and give educated recommendations. It's important to note that the county is proposing consumption lounges. Consumption lounges promote drug driving. Alpine has rural, windy roads that are often unlit. According to the National Safety Council, motor vehicle deaths in 2020 estimated to be the highest in 13 years. An estimated 4.8 million additional roadway users were seriously injured in crashes in 2020, and the estimated cost to society was $474 billion. This is staggering, especially when you consider last year we saw a drastic drop in miles driven due to COVID. Tonight, I would strongly encourage you to look closer at the negative effects on young people. Former Congressman Patrick Kennedy recently stated that he sees the marijuana industry viewing younger consumers as cash cows. The industry is banking on them becoming heavy lifetime users, following the trends set by companies such as Altria Philip Morris and Juul. It's also interesting that Altria Philip Morris, the tobacco giant, has recently made multi-billion-dollar investments into the marijuana industry, and Juul is also lobbying in support of marijuana legislation. With this being said, it's crucial that you voice your concerns regarding the language written in the ordinance, language that will protect teens from this sort of exposure. For example, when deciding on an appropriate location, like how far it should be from a minor-oriented facility, I would ask how the county will measure the distance. Are they going to measure it property line to property line, or are they going to measure path of travel? Path of travel opens up loopholes for the marijuana businesses to manipulate and interpret the ordinance so that it benefits them. This is just one example of some of the language that you can help dictate. I highly encourage you to use this time that the county has given in voicing your concerns and calling the supervisor and taking advantage of this this time that they have allowed you to voice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Becky. Next speaker is going to be Randall Torres.
Randall, are you on the line?
He is, and you're going to unmute in just a second. And Randall, I think at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you should see the mute button you can click on. There you go.
Thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor to be able to come and share a little bit, bring you up to speed on what's happening with the youth center, and just express my appreciation very much for your service to our community. You know, especially Richard Saldano. He's been a great help for us to get the youth center back up and running. As you know, the youth center's been around for a while under Tom Dyke. I came into the picture roughly 2016 and took over as president of the nonprofit, and we've just been moving ahead. As our beloved Tom has gone on to be with the Lord. Now his son's taken over, and so we're in good communication relationship there, pursuing goals. And Richard's been very instrumental in that and helping us connect with the county to get some requirements met. You know, there were long-standing issues that had to be done with the zoning, as you guys probably already know that, but the code and all that. So right now, where we're at, we're in the process of getting the fire alarm installed, and we also have to get the parking lot done, and all that's been lined up. So our hope is to get the Alpine Youth Center open by late April, early May. And so that we appreciate very much your prayers, your support for our process. What do we need? well, we definitely need your prayers, but the volunteers, as our whole staff, of course, after being shut down for a year, many have moved on, and we're now going to be serving a different generation of kids, and so we hope to have it open and be able to offer many services, a variety of stuff for kids to have fun, have a refuge, and we've learned that over the years. The Alpine Youth Center is truly a refuge for many kids to get a base, to learn values that are healthy for them, to avoid drugs, marijuana stores, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. But we are alive and well. The COVID has been the primary reason that we haven't obviously been able to open up and move ahead. And so I've been hesitant to sound the trumpet until I know we're going to be moving in this direction. And we are now, I think, with Richard's help and other men, professionals, colleagues, we will be offering some services there, including, groups and things like that are, a variety, family-oriented, like that. So, yeah, if anybody has any questions about what we're doing, feel free. I'm going to do my darndest to get a article in the Alpine Network and in the Sun, and just give a highlight where we're at, because I've heard things that the building's been abandoned and that kind of thing, but in no way are we abandoning the Alpine Youth Center. We're still alive and well. So Richard has my number. Feel free to call me, talk to me, how we can network together. So again, thank you for this opportunity.
Hey, thank you so much, Randall. And then I think if the group has questions, or if they have obviously, like you said, reach out to Richard if you have ideas for volunteers and who can help out there. Thank you, Richard, for all your help there.
Travis, may I trade a little bit on what Randall stated?
Give me 1 second. I'm going to change Randall to attendee. And then, so we have the only other speaker, so you can go ahead so we stay on topic. You have your 3 minutes, Richard, and then I'm going to come to Jim Bowles from the county. He's going to give us an update on stuff we're going to be seeing in our next month. So the floor is yours, Richard.
Okay, a little bit more on the youth center. I'd like to thank LG Equipment and some other folks in the community. I was able to reach out to these folks due to the COVID. Most of the people were off. These folks in the construction industry were still working. They are graciously going to go do a lot of stuff at no cost to the community. To the youth center. Randall's put a lot of time keeping this together. It's been extremely tough, being that we don't have any kids coming in. I'm trying to keep everybody on board to still feel the same dream that we do. I know that the Alpine Fire District and Jason McBroom has been extremely helpful, helping us get us through the county. The county has given us a lot of leeway on inspections due to the fact that they knew we couldn't get certain things done. So, I'd like to thank Randall, because he's the one that's keeping this candle lit and making it go. If there's anybody in the community that would like to donate money, donate time, donate anything to just help us out, get us through. COVID seems like it's coming to an end. These kids are going to need a place to go, because eventually your parents will go back to work. We like to see the kids in our youth center, hopefully doing homework, being kids, and not out on the street or with nowhere to go. So if anybody would like to reach out, you can always reach out to myself, Rick Saldano. I can be reached through our Alpine APG website, and I'm more than welcome to take anybody's donation, anybody's help to get us through this. It seems like COVID's coming to an end, so we want these kids to have a place to go. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight.
Hey, thank you, Richard. And I want to make sure, I've got actually one more hand up. I'm going to promote Judy Strang to panelist. I'm not sure if Judy wants to speak in open discussion or if she's interested in filling the vacancy. Let's check real quick, and then we'll end with Jim Bowles with the county. So, Judy, let me know if you can unmute. There we go.
Oh, yay. Hi and good evening. I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you as a parent advocate and on behalf of the parent organizations here in North County. And I guess I'm joining someone else who's been speaking about the situation with bringing marijuana businesses to the unincorporated areas. And I wanted to share some thoughts with you regarding the idea that somehow or another bringing marijuana businesses to the unincorporated area is a social equity issue. For many of us who've worked on minority and ethnic situations, particularly young people who live on the fringe, we're sort of offended by this idea because we feel that in the past, when minorities have been discriminated against, it wasn't because of marijuana laws, which is what they're trying to say in this new ordinance. It's part of sort of a system-wide discrimination that occurred at the enforcement and adjudication level. It wasn't a problem with the laws. It was certainly not a problem with marijuana laws. And we feel like tagging the need for marijuana businesses in the backcountry to social equity doesn't do social equity any good, and it's certainly an incorrect situation regarding marijuana businesses rectifying anything. And we also feel that if you just single out one industry that's being heavily invested in right now by alcohol and tobacco companies to sell another addictive substance, that this fails to provide really the resources and assistance that we really want for our disadvantaged residents, who we would guess would be far more interested in doing some other type of business. I would say in working with the families of Alpine that that's not what we want for our young people. We want technology, we want job opportunities, we want internships for our young adults, we want stores with fresh fruits and vegetables, we want parks and playgrounds, we want neighborhoods that are safe. The last thing we want are pot stores. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. All right. Okay. Jim, you still online?
I am.
All right, Jim. You got some updates for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Travis, and the Alpine Community Planning Group. For the rest of you that don't know me, my name is Jim Bowles. I'm a project manager with the County of San Diego Capital Improvement Program. And just a little aside, I know my brother Tom Bowles works with Randall out there in the youth center. So Tom's engaged out there. I happen to live in Santee, East County. Thanks for the opportunity to come. This is just an informative blurb that I wanted to share with the group, that you can be expecting some information coming from the County of San Diego. The Department of Public Works will be requesting your participation in identifying a prioritized list of transportation improvement projects on the county maintained road network in your community. And we haven't done this for, I think, several years now, but we're getting re-engaged, and some of the project types that will be included on this list are road reconstruction, reconfiguration or new roads, bridge repair, reconstruction, sidewalk, pathways, pedestrian access ramps, drainage, traffic signals, and intersections. So we will be sending a formal letter with an email within the next few weeks. It'll have a blank priority list as one tab, and then on the second tab there will be the old list that you can go through and see what was on the priority list, and projects that have already been completed. But this will give you an opportunity to identify capital improvement roadway type projects that you'd like to put on a new priority list, and then we will work with you collaboratively to find funding and see if we can't move those projects forward. Now, this is different than the road resurfacing priority list that came through just a couple of years ago, and this is more for just the capital improvement program projects. So expect an email with a letter and that spreadsheet from me in probably another few weeks. And then what I think a good follow-up would be is to have the community planning group look at that, perhaps identify some projects from past years that haven't been completed and prioritize those. And then we can, I can get back on the agenda in a couple of months and we can have a discussion and then perhaps you can take an action on finalizing that priority list. With that, I can answer any questions anyone may have.
Go ahead, George. And Jim, I want to thank you and for the group, just as an FYI. Jim said, hey, we can bring this back at an action item, but I thought it'd be good to get some background, and I think the explanation was very helpful. And then as soon as he sends me those previous lists, I'll circulate to the group. George? Hey, George, you're on mute.
That's just the way most people want me, I guess. Jim, just an idea, and I haven't brought it to Al's circulation subcommittee yet, but would a suggestion on a need for a sidewalk fall within that purview of this?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yes, it would.
All right, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Any other questions? If not, I think we'll see that list. I'll circulate it to the group and then make sure we get that back to you. And actually, we'll be in communication, Jim, to make sure if it's going to be on our April agenda. Actually, that's a question. Timeline for our recommendations.
Well, I think it would, if we give you a month or two to look at the list, perhaps the end of May or your May or even April meeting would be fine.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Well, sure good to reconnect with all of you. Sorry I've been a bit absent, but it's good to see everybody.
Good to see you too, Jim. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. With that closes our open discussion. Prioritization of meeting agenda items. We only really have one agenda item, so we're going to move right forward to group business, which is we're going to be filling our vacancy. So right now I'm going to go ahead and promote. I'm going to promote the individuals who made their.
I just punch this button down here.
And somebody has a second mic on. We just need to turn. I think the two mic. Here, what I'll do is I'm just going to mute you for right now, and then I think if you have a second computer on, we're just getting a little background. So I'm going to promote Colby, John Paul Sullivan, Erica, and Darlene. Before we start, I think it'll be helpful for the group. I'm going to do a quick review of our standing rules regarding filling vacancies. All right, we have the four individuals on there. So normally we would, I'm just going to go ahead and read through this. Rules for planning group, filling our subcommittee or our vacancies. I would call off the candidates in alphabetical order. Each candidate would be allowed 5 minutes to give a short statement of their appointment. The following standard points of information are requested to assist the group in making their appointments. Your full name and the address at which you're registered to vote, your occupation, financial interest in any real estate in Alpine other than your home, if any, and financial interest in any Alpine business or firm, if any. Those are really the four major items. After the candidate's oral statement, the chairman will first seek clarification that may be appropriate and then recognize any group member wishes to ask questions. So again, these four members have provided written statements. I'm going to go and ask, just for everybody's sake of time, if they introduce themselves, go through those four things: their full name, where they're registered to vote, their occupation, and then again, whether they have financial interest in anything other than their home, real estate wise, or a business. Then it gives us an opportunity to do a question and answer. Again, I'd like if we can ask a question and maybe go to each one of them and give them opportunity to answer. I'll come to them one by one, unless it's a specific question and group members just get my attention and you can ask any specific questions. At that point, so these are people who are interested in filling the vacancy. A group member has to nominate only one candidate who accepts the nomination. I assume these four would accept it. and then a motion to place the name in nomination will require a second. So we have statement of interest for 4 candidates. We have to move them into nomination. We can move them all, or we can move them individually into the voting. Once all the candidates have been heard, we take act on filling each vacancy separately. In this case, we only have 1 vacancy. So the only thing that's interesting is when we go through the votes, especially if assuming there's 4 people in there, you'll say this candidate's name that you're voting for. If no one receives a majority of the remaining members of the group, then those candidates receiving the highest and next highest will be voted on again. If after the second ballot no one receives a majority, 1 more ballot shall be taken. And then if we don't have a majority, which is going to take 8 votes, if we don't have a majority, it'll be tabled till the next regular meeting. So just for clarification, let's assume all 4 are put into nomination. The first vote, if no one receives a majority, we'll go to a runoff of the top 2, and then at that we do at least or up to 2 votes for those 2. If we don't get a majority, we'll move on and we'll table it till next week. So I think it's always helpful to recap. And then for those of you who are standing, if you would each go ahead and unmute each of you, and if you guys want to put your video on, you can. If you don't want to, that's okay too. And I'm, by my standing rules, which I'm glad I reviewed, I'm supposed to call on you guys in alphabetical order. And so that is going to be Darlene Cosio will go first.
Hi.
Colby Ross will go second. Erica Simmons will go third, and John Paul Sullivan will go last. Thank you guys so much for being here and attending. And again, I'll just do the quick reminder: full name and address where you registered to vote, occupation, financial interest in any real estate in Alpine other than your home, and financial interest in any business or firm. And if you don't have any, you can just say so. So, Darlene, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Darlene Cosio. Address is 2424 Shooting Star Place in Alpine. My occupation is I am the Director of Marketing Communications for Goodwill San Diego, and I have no financial special interest.
Erica?
Hi, good evening. My name is Erica Simmons. I am the Director of Assessment Services in San Diego Unified. I live at 1652 Viejas Creek Trail, and I have no interest in anything other than my home.
Thank you. John?
My name is John Sullivan. I live at 2989 North Victoria Drive. I have no financial interest, and my occupation is elementary school custodian.
And Colby Ross.
Hi, my name is Colby Ross. I live at 1445 Star Valley Road. I have no financial interest in other than my home, and I'm a firefighter paramedic in Alpine.
All right, thank you. Just to check, planning group, everybody received their statements. I circulated them in the past, and I think I circulated them again yesterday. At this time, generally we have, if anybody would like to ask them any questions, you can ask them individually, or we can ask of all 4. And I'll start off because it's a standard one. We've generally asked every planning group member that stood for an appointment, and we'll go in the same order: Darlene, Erica, John, and then Colby. But the question just is simply, how do you feel about private property rights?
How do I feel about private property rights? I respect private property rights, that they're something that we should respect and honor.
And Erica?
Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. In regards to me, I think that private property rights bring forms of economic freedom and exchange that benefits several people within the community. It helps individuals to grow, and I absolutely support them.
And John Paul?
Yes, how I feel about private property rights, I feel that we should honor private property rights.
Okay. And Colby?
I 100% agree. we should absolutely. Sorry, I have a blank mind. I have a little jet lag going on. Private property rights are important to me because I don't think that anybody should be able to come on your property and tell you what to do if it's yours.
Fair enough. Any other questions from the group? Just give me a hand signal or speak up.
Travis, can you hear me? Travis?
Mike, but the only thing is you got a second, you must have a second audio on there. If you could just turn your volume down, you can speak. Can you turn the volume down on your computer? Do you have it on your phone as well?
Yeah, I'm having it this evening, so I guess this is part of it.
It's just because you have a second one. You know what? Give me a second. Whatever your second thing, if you have it on a phone, can you just turn that down or mute that?
Okay, I did.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Can you hear me now better? So I wanted to ask Colby a question, if I may.
Okay.
What was the reason that you left the planning group? Is it because of your job situation?
Yes, it was unintentional. I had an assignment up in San Bernardino at a fire. I was up there for 10 days, and I had my application filled out, and I had to get it notarized with COVID situations going on. So I was supposed to take it to the registrar that day after I left. So I missed the date, and I couldn't. I had to have it certified. So I wasn't able to do that when I was gone. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
And then Al, did you have a question?
I'd like to ask all four candidates that if you were to be on the board, what would your top 3 priorities be? And in terms of moving the planning group to make what your definition is of make the community better.
Start with you, Darlene.
So Al, your question is, what would my top 3 priorities be if I were to become a member of the board for the community? And I think in my interactions and experience with ACPG, one of my priorities would be to create greater communication with the community through transparency, cooperation, and participation. I think that I have a lot of a strong technical skill set that can be used to facilitate greater communication with the community. I think that there are some opportunities that we could take advantage of through email marketing and things like that would foster greater transparency. And I think that would lead to, again, just a better understanding of the purpose of the group and the work that is being done on behalf of the community.
But what kind of things, can you give an example of you want to improve communication and transparency? What is it makes that a priority for you, and what kinds of things might you do to achieve that?
I think what has made that a priority for me is, as an example, the park situation. I think for many residents, the information that came through about the park, at least the impression that many community members had was that the information wasn't forthright, it wasn't easily accessible, and they kind of found out late. And I think that same experience was felt by many in relation to the low-income housing that is being placed or put in at the top of Marshall Road. So I think getting in front of some of that by getting an email distribution list together and being able to quickly communicate with the community the things that are happening so that they don't feel as if they are acting to something, but instead have a chance to have their voices heard in front of the decision being made. And I think that's really imperative for a group like this to build a strong relationship with the community, which is, I would think, everyone's goal.
Thank you.
And Travis, I can build on that, and Darlene, I couldn't agree more. I think transparency is going to be extremely important. If I had the opportunity to serve with each of you, the first thing that I would do is really get to know the current individuals who sit on the board. I think that it's very important to get to know each of you individually and hear what your vision is for our community. And then the next thing that I would do is really fully understand what Alpine needs. I've been a principal for over 10 years and education for over 20, and I've done several things to bring individuals with opposition together. In opposition on several levels, whether it be uniforms or crosswalks or, simple things with bullying. And I have a lot of experience on hearing both sides and finding a solution even when it does seem impossible. And so through the transparency and through my ability to bring individuals together, that would be the second piece that I would look at. The third piece is I would look at supporting individuals together and making sure that that is what we represent in Alpine, bringing our community back together and knowing that each of us that sit on this board are here for the betterment of Alpine, that we don't always have to agree, but we will find the best solution. And knowing that I've worked for children and families for 20 years, I know that it can be done because I've done it. And getting the boots on the ground, right? Having it be a night where I'm available at Starbucks to hear people's insight and want to share their thoughts, maybe in a forum that's not as intimidating possibly as a public meeting, but really being a part of the community. And I do that already by leading and working with sitting with John at the VFW, or possibly being at the snack bar for the Alpine Little League and really getting close to the community. So thank you, Al, for that question. I think that is a really great question to ask.
All right, thank you, Al, for that question. And I think that along the lines of what Erica stated, I think that it's real important that us as a planning group, if I were to make it on the planning group, is to be more visible to the community and not just in the Zoom meetings or the monthly meetings that we have. I think it's clear from the previous meetings and even some of them today that the community feels that we lack communication. So I think communication is a key, especially when the board is supposed to be the voice of reason and the voice for all the families up here in Alpine. That it's really important that the families and the community feel heard, even if it's not the decision that they would like us to be making. I think that's where transparency comes in, to why we made that decision and the reasoning behind that. I think that I can bring a lot to the team as far as my time in the military and working with kids and working in the school districts through this pandemic. I think that I've already proven that I could work under pressure, and I'm all for change in the positive. I feel that the board could use a new set of eyes and a new set of ears on the board, and to get the board out of its norm a little bit and have somebody new on the board. Thank you.
And Colby?
I think the three tops that I have is the park issue that's going on right now. We have major concerns going on with that. When I was on the Alpine Planning Group, I was on the Parks, Trails, and Conservation Committee with Mr. Easterling, and then COVID hit, so we kind of lost touch with a lot of things. And then I was an idiot and didn't register to put my ballot in. So anyways, park issue would probably be the biggest right now. Another really right behind it would be the the county rezoning our east end of Alpine. I do live in the east end of Alpine and am concerned about that, but I understand growth is one thing. I've had numerous neighbors and within my general area reach out to me via email and ask me about my feelings on that. And I'd like to kind of work on that with the county. A big thing, as I've been a fireman here in Alpine for 20 years, almost 30 in East County, and is one big thing that I really would like to see change is some of the roadway safety that we have. Numerous projects that are coming in. On the east end, I have a weird three-way stop at West Willows and Alpine Boulevard that tricks everybody every time I come to the stop sign. They think I'm supposed to go. So it's just little things like that that I'd like to work on with the county on that. And we're also at work, we're working on the evacuation routes for during wildland fires, working with Jason McBroom on that. So that's another big thing that I'd like to kind of work on through the planning group. That's about it.
Thank you, guys. Any other questions from the group?
I would like to ask can you hear me, Travis?
I can.
Okay. I would like to ask the group a question as well. I wanted to find out what their position would be on this park, because we've heard nothing but negative comments this afternoon. And I don't know that these folks have any idea of how long that this park has been or trying to get a park in Alpine. And I think that's one of the major issues that we have right now with our group. Even though we're an advisory group only, we don't have a lot of power. But I want to make sure that these folks understand that we do not have a lot of power, that we're an advisory group to the county. The county came out and came up with this park idea and they didn't even bring it to our board. They just came up and proposed this new park. And of course, this stirred a big problem with all the citizens of Alpine. So I would also Mike group knows that we've been looking for a park location.
Travis, can he hear me? Yeah, hold on.
Hard to find.
Yeah, Justin. It's just the background mic. You've got a second mic in there. You've got a second speaker that's giving feedback when you're speaking. I think
the rest of us are getting tortured.
Yeah, I know. We heard your comments in the question. So let's go ahead and go to Darlene. There we go.
And Mike, thank you so much for that question. You know, I think that we're all saying the same thing, which is that we recognize the Alpine, the planning group's role in the development of the community, but we're not really getting in front of the situation as it comes up. We all recognize that this is a park. I'm an Alpine resident for 20 years now, so we know that this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. And we understand that the power is within the county, and we recognize that we're not receiving the proper notification. But I think where there's a disconnect is that the community at large does not understand that. And that's why I believe greater communication is necessary, whether it's through, email marketing or a text campaign, just being able to share with them what it is that we're working on, what information is being given to us, and what participation or action they can take to have their voices be heard. And I think all of this would create a greater collaboration between the planning group and the community, which I think is essential in order for the planning group to be successful and to not be viewed as the bad guy, which is what I think is happening a little bit. So I recognize what's happening, and I think one of the ways that we can address the situation is by greater communication with more members of the community. Thank you.
And
Erica?
And Mike, I will build on that. when I mentioned that one of the initial pieces that I would do if given the opportunity would get to truly know each of you as members of the planning group, I also had the opportunity to meet with Supervisor Joel Anderson to kind of get some insight into what he thought and how things have been working on the back end, because I know and I understand that as a planning group, you don't get to make the ultimate decision. However, I wanted to hear from his voice kind of the story that he had, and much like him, I don't have a true opinion yet on where everything falls, because as a member of the community, you're right, much of what I hear is negative. But I want to, and I try to be a sounding board to remind them that, knowing that I've worked with children for so long, how important parks are, and how if we can come to a happy medium through the communication and through these meetings, that ultimately we are going to be serving our children and the community in Alpine. And so, like I said, I don't have a true authentic opinion at this time, but I do hear what you guys are saying, and I do know that it is important through communication and through authentic listening and intentional listening that we can come to a solution and give a true opinion of what Alpine represents, so that way as we do move forward with this park, that we are meeting the needs of our most important part of our community, which is our children, as they will be the ones who get the opportunity to use this park for many generations to come.
Thank you, Erica. John.
As far as the my opinion of the park, I think that it would be hard for me to voice an opinion on it, because so much has changed, and just hearing the community talk about it, and I mean, not all the comments have been negative. I mean, I've heard positive comments about it, but I think that the negative comments kind of hide the positive that could be in it for the children as well. And I think at the end of the day, like a lot of the negative comments are coming from like the adults, and we're not truly thinking about the future of what this can bring for our children. But until like I actually dig down into it and hear more information on it, like it would be hard for me to make a decision at this time.
And thank you, Colby.
I am pro park. Whether any people like where the location is, or is going to evaluate the Wrights Field area, that's where the county decided to put it. And Mike is right. We weren't given the choice to where we wanted it. They bought the land. They said this is what we're going to do, and that's where they're going to put it. We did have some choices in design of it. We listened to the public for 10 solid months about what they wanted. We got a dog park, a BMX track, horses, baseball fields. Yes, we have elementary schools and middle school to have all those things for AYSO and Little League, but I think having community park is another step forward in what Alpine can provide for its citizens. So I'm pro park.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have another question.
Okay.
This for all of you. How many planning group meetings have you attended, and what was the subject that you were interested in?
Arlene, are you ready? You're just muted. There. Thank you.
I've recently attended 3. Many years ago, as a longtime resident, I attended more than I have recently. What drove me to attend most recently was the low-income housing that's being put in at the top of Marshall Road. I think that I'm not against low-income housing. I think there's room for it in our community. I just think that particular location comes with a lot of additional issues that were concerning to me. I don't live in the area. I will not be directly impacted, but I care about our community in general, and that's what drove me to participate. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you. Erica.
I have been at least 4 meetings, and the true reason why I have attended those meetings was the conversation around the park, and to hear where the planning group side was in regard to that, but more importantly also hearing what the community shared, so I can get a true understanding of what the community felt when they had the opportunity to share some of their.
John?
Yes, I've been to about 5 meetings. Most recently, the past 2, when it was more pertaining to the development and the park issue with the comments. So I think that's what's driven me more to get involved. This is the past 2 meetings. Thank you.
And Colby?
I spent 2 years on the planning group, so I'm not really sure exactly how many. I would say 10 or 12 meetings that I've made. I'm guessing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the group? So, again, following our standing rules strictly, it requires a nomination to go to a vote. So we have 4 candidates in front of us, and each group member may only nominate 1 candidate. So, and we need a second for each nomination. You can second as many as you like. So now we'd be open for nominations.
I nominate Kobe Ross.
All right, so we got Glenda. I got Glenda in there first. Glenda nominated Darlene Cosio.
I nominate Kobe Ross. I'll second Kobe Ross, Jim.
And I seconded Darlene Cosio. So both those 2. I'll go ahead and nominate Erica Simmons.
Let's second that.
Okay, and we have another nomination. George, you were muted. I think you were nominating John. All right, and I'll second John Paul Sullivan. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to close nominations. Going to get a second?
Second.
Okay. Actually, I got to give me 1 minute because I forgot I'm still being secretary here, and I need to
I'm keeping tab 2, Travis, because it might get complicated.
Okay. Yeah, the voting for this, I appreciate your help. Ross, Easter.
Doesn't mean I'm doing it right, though.
Give me 1 second. Just so I and TL. Erica. All right. I appreciate everybody's patience. I know it's procedural, but I want to make sure we do it right. All right. So I got a motion. Jim voted, seconded, closing nominations. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Closes nominations. We have 4 candidates. And again, just a quick recap. When I call on you, state the name of your candidate who you're voting for. In the first round, if we don't have a majority, the top 2 candidates will go to a runoff. From there, we can do up to 2 vote-offs, and we would need, the way I read it, I just want to make sure this is what it says. If more than 2 candidates are nominated for 1 vacancy, no one receives a majority of the remaining members of the group. So this is not the majority of our numbers tonight, which we have 12 members logged in right now. This is going to be the majority of the 14. So you need to have 7 votes, actually. It's like half, so I'm not sure if I can count that as a majority. I think we have to have 8 votes to make our recommendation, which is standard with our others. So I'm going to start. It'll be a roll call vote. I'm going to start. I'll start at the top. So I vote. I'm going to vote for Colby Ross. Jim Easterling.
Kobe Ross.
Jennifer Swanson.
Darlene Cosio.
Linda Archer.
Darlene Cosio.
George Barnett.
Colby Ross.
Roger Gray. excused. Mary Harris.
Erica Simmons.
Al Haven.
Kobe Ross.
Justin Johnson. Justin might have stepped away. Justin, you're muted. I'm gonna come back to Justin. Mike?
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Justin Johnson.
Kobe Ross. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Mike Milligan. And Mike, you're muted.
Kobe Ross.
Okay. Leslie Perico.
Colby Ross.
All right. Richard Saldano.
Colby Ross.
Kippy Thomas.
Colby Ross.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to say something real quick before we move on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have a majority. Well, actually, let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Erica, Darlene, John. I once stood for nomination of the group to fill a vacancy, and I didn't get it. I came back the next month, and I kept coming to meetings, and then the next month after that, I was up for another vacancy, and myself and Mike Milligan were up for it. I got the nomination to fill the seat. Mike kept coming to meetings. The next time it came up, Mike Milligan was nominated to fill the seat. What I want to communicate is I don't want this to be a disappointment or a reason that you guys won't continue to be engaging with us and come back. There's always vacancies on the group. There's 15 of us. Stay engaged and please don't take this as anything other than that we had a number of great candidates and I would like to see you guys come back in the future. So
I'd like to say that I'm really pleased we had such 4 good candidates, and I appreciate your stepping forward and offering to serve. And I think that each one of you made some really good points. And this doesn't have to be at the end of your participation. All of our subcommittees are open to the public to have members, so you may think about joining the subcommittees that you may be interested in and really get some good close experience.
I'd like to comment too, Travis, if that's okay.
Yes.
For Ms. Casio and Ms. Simmons, we did years ago have a member that was accountable for public communication. And I agree, that's a strength we really need. So please stay engaged with us. And John Paul, your service with kids in the Navy going to bring special insight to us. So please stay engaged too.
appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all very much.
And then also, just sort of also for clarification, this is again, it's a recommendation. This isn't a final. So we submit this recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors has to take the recommendation and then point our recommendation or deny the recommendation and send it back to us. So Colby, I appreciate you coming tonight, and I'm going to expect you to come for the next couple months. But I'm going to have you're going to be in the attendees until they get us approved, and then you can sit back on the board and vote. So
sounds good to me. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you guys.
Travis, can I make one final comment also with these people that showed up tonight?
Absolutely, Mike. There's
I'm with the rest of the group. I was really happy to see these 4 folks come, especially Kobe coming back. But I would definitely like to see these other 3 folks get more involved with this community. We need these kind of folks involved with us, and it will help us a lot. So whatever input that they can give us would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Hey, Travis?
Yes.
What was the name of the group that was, were they just recently formed in representation of the Alpine community in regards to the park?
You're talking about the
there was a couple of people from the public that spoke, and there was
It's a preserve Alpine heritage. And from what I understand, it's recently, in the last 6 months.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just want to say I think that's really great to see people coming together, you know, regardless of anybody's position on a certain topic. You know, one benefit of this last year is that we've all had more time to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the community. And I know that there's many people out there who have positions or frustrations, and they voice them amongst their neighbors and stuff, but nobody really takes the time to say, hey, you know, maybe I would like to get involved in the greater communication of Alpine, and to see people coming together and doing that on their own outside of, you know, whatever, how should I put it, whatever established structure that's already there. I think that's a really good thing. That's something that each of us who have taken the time to serve our community, that's what I think that's a common value amongst all of us, is to see the coming together of community, and that's what we're here to represent. So if there's anything I can do in regards to communication, I definitely don't want to take the seat of public communication at large, but I'd like to explore whatever opportunities I can to find out this new Preserve Alpine Heritage group and see if there's anything that I can do to understand what they're doing within the community. And it sounds like they want to be friends and everybody should be on the same page, which might not happen all at once, but I think it's something that I would be willing to you know, mediate or go forth with. So I just wanted to say that, and just say that it's really nice to see everybody show up and discuss what's going on in their neighborhood and how it affects them.
I think I'd like to add something about communication. When I got on the board, I was thinking, you know, we could have meetings and get together small groups, coffee classes and things. However, we run into a few things like the Brown Act. And it turns out that we can only do business in a public meeting. So that means that all the subcommittees have to advertise within, I think it's 72 hours, and follow all the rules, so that the small meetings have the same rules as the whole group. And that does kind of get in the way of just open communication with the community.
Can I respond to that there, Al?
Yeah.
I'd like to respond to that if I may. I was a little distressed when I read some of the emails over the Brown Act situation that some folks were posing as a problem for George and a problem for Travis. I just think that was unconscionable to accuse them of going forward on projects and not adhering to the Brown Act. I know that that's not factual, and I think that they need to rethink their accusations. I can't see anything. I can't see anything but good about both George and Travis, and they've been both steadfast with this planning group. So I don't ever want them to get discouraged and decide to say, to heck with this, I'm going to leave. That's not what this group is all about. So please don't get discouraged, George or Travis. So I'd like to see us get into an open meeting in April instead of doing this thing via the computer. It really makes it very difficult. I'm sorry I'm having computer problems, but that happens, that's life. Anyway, that's what I would like to impart to everyone. Thank you.
Mike. And for the record, the feedback's fixed. You're doing great right now. So, Justin, you had a comment?
Yeah. So, in regards to the Brown Act, I think that makes it even that much more simple, because everybody's talking about the same thing in transparency. And as an established entity of the state of California, you know, all the way down, well, whatever process we follow has to follow those laws that we've been established to our oath. And there is a method of open communication and everything is documented, and a lot of people who are experiencing these particular opposition to the park or another issue, they're not quite aware of how to source down that information. I was impressed a couple times tonight with the research that people had done. And so side note, agreed, I've seen some significant voluntary efforts been put in from members on this board, particularly Travis. But bridging the gap between the thoughts and voice of the community is going to take more than giving recognition to ourselves on this board. Is going to take exposure. And think about it, it's 2021. My phone's dinging 3 times right now. I've gotten notifications on the computer. The kids are screaming. There's all this stuff going on. There's no time to sit, oh yeah, let me check, since the Alpine community planning groups, their meetings are recorded in minutes. So let me go back and read that so I can catch up to date. We don't have a big hoorah at our town hall meeting. People aren't interested, they're not engaged, and that's part of our normal day-to-day lives now, is that we are so fast-paced, and it's not that there's not time or interest, it's just that it's really, really hard to fit that public service or public engagement into individual people's lives. And these people are coming together. It may be rallied around a particular issue specific to the park, but the fact that they're coming together and that they are not required to follow the Brown Act, we are. But if they were given the tools and pieces to review our minutes or review our positions and realize that there is a lot of transparency there in this process, and there's an extreme amount of effort and care for Alpine at large. I truly believe that people have the same intentions to serve the public overall. And I'll just say that my position on the park, I don't necessarily have a personal position. I live further out from Alpine. I don't really mind if there's a park built or not. With that, I'll say that because I don't have a particular position, I should probably listen to all of the best points and concerns of the community, because they're the ones that have the position. And as I weigh that up, maybe I should not really call my personal decision, because it doesn't regard me. It's in regards to serving the voice of the community, right? And that's not giving any particular position, but I don't believe that the uproar that's come from the park, and the not ad hominem, but the attacks, I will say, that have come to the planning group, I don't believe that those are directed with the knowledge of the efforts that have gone in as a public service. And so I think bridging the gap is something that we, me personally, I would love to do anything that I can to make sure that transparency is transparent and it's apparent and it's here and it's available. What methods that might take, I'm not really sure, but I could ponder on it a few solutions.
Can I interject real quickly? Just because I really would like to thank you, Justin, for what you just said. I really appreciate, as a community member, your position of, I want to hear what the community thinks and what their position is. And I think that's been a big disconnect for us as a community member with the group. But there's something else that you said that I really want to touch on. And you said that you believe the group is transparent, and hold your meetings at this time and all of that. I think as our person, one of my best practices is, meet people where they are. And I definitely think that has been lacking with this group. You can't, I understand, you have rules and regulations in the Brown Act, but being accessible where we are is, I think, a responsibility of the group. Thank you. I don't know who's speaking.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and I'll move on the meeting. Everybody who came, I appreciate it. Like I said, I want you to stay involved, stay active. There'll be more vacancies. It's the one thing I've actually realized besides tax. My comment on, I don't want to go into this and I don't want to belabor it. I was very disappointed in some of the concerns or the feeling or the sentiment that the planning group was disdainful or dismissive of public comment at the last meeting. I don't feel that was the case. I've been I've been volunteering and doing this for the last 11, 12 years. I've served as chair for a long time. I pride myself in transparency and I pride myself in giving the opportunity for public engagement. And all I did was entertain a discussion for how we could do it better. I appreciate everybody's participation tonight. I think this was better. I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding that running these meetings virtually is much different than running them in person. There were a number of challenges presented with that, and I did my best to engage public comment, and I read every public comment received to ensure that we did that, and I just wanted to make sure we had a discussion at the end of the last meeting. I mean, maybe it may be recorded and maybe I didn't hear it. There's been a lot of accusations that the group used certain terms about the public that, quite frankly, I didn't hear. I didn't actually hear anybody accuse them of being NIMBY, and I didn't hear anybody accuse them of being ungrateful. And maybe I misheard that, but I didn't hear that. I didn't say it. And I think that was the only thing I'd like to respond to. I feel like I think everybody said tonight, everybody who is engaged, I believe, is engaged for the betterment of Alpine. And we may not always agree on what that looks like, but that is the motives. So with that, I want to thank my planning group. Again, I'm a big boy. I can deal with public criticism. I'm fine with it. I was very disappointed when the group was being criticized for something that, quite frankly, that was not the discussion. It was how do we do this better? And I've heard from everybody tonight that they were very pleased in the format tonight, and I was as well. So thank you guys for participating. It was great to put names to faces. We will be doing that again. And then here's actually, I guess, the update, and I'll make sure it'll be in the newspaper. The County of San Diego has issued a notice of preparation for their environmental impact for the county park. That was sent out for everybody who's on any interest list. That public comment period started earlier this month and runs through April 7th. I think, again, that was an opportunity. The county clarified some of their positions as far as where stop signs would be and a number of things. I'm going to distribute that notice of preparation to the rest of the group. Again, I'm going to distribute frequently asked questions, and I'm going to propose we have a special meeting inside of that public comment period, which would put us doing a special meeting. I was hoping to do it either the Monday or the Tuesday after Easter. So not next week, but the following Monday or Tuesday. So the group can consider and make a recommendation, and I'll be reaching out to members of the public who've been engaged and talk to them about how we can provide meaningful platform for public presentations as well. I'll echo what Mike said. I would much rather be doing these in person. I think everybody would. I'm not sure that's going to be the case by April 6th, but I don't think it might be the case in the next month either, just based on how they're handling large group gatherings. And there's 15 of us, and if you have public engagement, there's going to be more meetings. I don't expect it. I expect it to be in this format. If it changes, I'll absolutely have the meeting in person. So what I'm asking right now, planning group, do we have conflicts on Monday, April 5th or Tuesday, April 6th that would prevent you from attending a public meeting?
None I know of.
Not from Leslie. No.
Okay.
None here.
So
none.
I think my preference is probably to do it Tuesday, if that's okay. So it'd be Tuesday, April 6th. I think, again, I think the 5th is Easter Sunday, and so that would give us a day for even members of the public to get back if anybody is traveling. But again, since we're doing it virtually, I'll make sure this is advertised, and I plan on having county here to answer questions. So April 6th is a Tuesday, and I will be sending out notice that we're going to have a special meeting on that day, and it will be just dedicated to the park. And I will be reaching out again to members of Preserve Alpine Heritage specifically, and see if we can set up a special presentation, which is standard. tonight was the first time in more than a year that we've actually had a meeting where we had people able to speak. That was a normal format for any public meeting. And I understand that, I want people to understand that there's 3 minutes to speak, and we got to stay to some type of format that allows respectful of everybody's time. But I think if we can obviously work with Alpine Heritage, I'd be happy to give them time to do a special presentation, which is normally up to 15 minutes. And then we can discuss what does that mean for the rest of public comment for that meeting. But that's where I'm going to go with it. So I don't have any other updates other than that. Form 700, I'll send out your training requirements, and then we're going to have a meeting on April 6th, Tuesday.
I would be available April 6th also, Travis, just so you know. But going back to just for a quickie, I don't want to belinger this thing as well, but I did say the NIMBY theory when we were having some comments between us as far as that goes, because I think the majority of the comments that we were getting from what you were reading and what you were getting over the internet was negative. And I did express that they were negative, but it was not against anybody specifically as far as that goes. But I mean, they have their right and they have the right to say what they want or don't want as far as that goes. But I just don't think that the people of Alpine understand how long this park thing has been going on. So anyway.
I appreciate that clarification, Mike. And I wasn't saying that it didn't happen. I didn't hear it. I knew I didn't say it, and it wasn't clear who that was said about. I've seen stuff in social media, but not from planning group members. So, anyways, thank you, Mike, for the clarification. And again,
what I got over the internet was a violation for you and George over the Brown Act, which was just craziness. I mean, it was just really stupid as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I think you deserve to know that I'm 100% behind you and George and all the members of the planning group as far as that goes, because every one of you are dedicated to make Alpine a better place for us to live. That's simple. If they don't like it, it's too bad.
Amen, brother.
All right. So, Vice Chair, any updates?
I have a question.
Yes.
I would anticipate that on that meeting on the 6th, that you will be swamped with people who want to talk for 3 minutes. You could end up into the wee hours of the morning. So I think we need to have a backup plan, if you will, for that issue.
Again, and I'll reach out to, obviously, so there's two things. There's standard protocol is 3 minutes, and the group has the ability to change that comment period depending on the number of speakers. If 50 people show up who want to speak, that's 150 minutes, it's 2.5 hours. In fairness, actually, because we're only going to have this topic, I'd probably move forward with that, even though that'd be a long night. That's within our 3 hours. I think the goal, and this isn't unique to us, this is something that the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission and every other public agency I've seen is, ideally, if you have a number of people who are organized and have the same position, providing the opportunity to provide a special presentation, audio, visual, any exhibits they want to present, in up to a 15-minute period is pretty standard. And then if we have a number of speakers who, if we're over that number, if there's 100 people who want to speak, we may vote to amend the number of the allotment to a shorter than 3 minute period. And that's not to limit public comment, that's trying to be respectful. And if we decide, hey, there's too much that we can't get through in one night, we can always delay the meeting or extend the meeting. So, again, these are, I went to the state of California. I went to Sacramento to speak on behalf of Alpine for a high school. And they looked at all of us that showed up and they were shocked. And they said, you guys each have 1 minute. That was it. They gave us each 1 minute. They gave the school district 10 minutes. And that was something that had gone on for years and had garnered, I don't know how many signatures, more than 30% of our population. I can't remember what it is, Al, if you know. But what I'm telling you is that that's not unusual. But I think, again, a lot of the comments, if they are aligned and they're organized, I would put that effort into a special presentation. And I'm not going to limit the number of public speakers, but we may have to look at the time to make sure we're able to do it within a reasonable time frame for a meeting. So,
can I make another comment? Is that at one point, if there was more than one person, they were basically going to duplicate the effort of the other person. I think we could eliminate that by saying we understand, but if you're going to duplicate the same statement, let's limit that time frame to like maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. If they're going to come back and say the same thing.
Yeah, we try not to anticipate what the public comment is going to be for each individual user. Again, we'll look at the number of people who request a speaker slip, and we'll decide if there's going to be any changes in the 3-minute allotment. I'm going to keep saying this, but part of the focus on any of these things is usually to come back and say, hey, if you have an organized group, provide a specific allotment of time to where they can present, and multiple people can present during that time frame, and also present individually. So there's a standard protocol for this, and I'm going to follow it just like every other group I've ever seen do. So
hey Travis, is there anything the rest of us on the board can do to facilitate the communication of that to the rest of the community?
Yeah, however you guys want to put it out. I mean,
because we have to follow those procedures, and they're. I mean, selfishly, I don't want to be there all night either. But if there's a good expectation, we take a preemptive approach versus having to run an audible and last minute there's a whole bunch of people that need to speak, and then I want to plan and alleviate whatever is going to fall on your shoulders there. Last minute, you have to switch things around, and then you have a bunch of angry people that don't get to speak.
I understand. And I mean, like I said, I think we've had meetings, guys. This is the first time we've had to do it over Zoom, but we've had a number of meetings where we've had more people show up than we have time for, and we make that decision at the time as far as, and every group, planning commission, board of supervisors, everybody else. And in some groups, they say, hey, we have 30 minutes for public comment, and anything else goes at the end of the meeting. We don't do that. I think we've been as transparent as possible and as engaging as possible at every meeting I've ever been at with this group. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 suggestions. It's common for the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission to have a rule when there's too many people to speak and the cause the meeting to go on for hours and hours, that once a speaker makes a point, the next speaker, they ask, is this a point that you would make, so that we don't have people repeating it? The person could stand up and say, no, I was going to talk about this, thank you. And the second one is that because the community really doesn't understand everything, I'm not sure the board does either, because we really haven't had a chance to have a thorough orientation from the county, that we have the issue first and then the comments afterwards, because the comments will be related to this, but they can be a lot more intelligent because they will understand maybe something that they didn't understand before. And so their comments will be more to the point and more objective.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey guys, I'm going to be honest. You guys would like me to chair. I'm going to run the meeting. And the reason is I'm going to run it the way I've seen every other public meeting run, and there's a pretty standard protocol for this stuff. I'm not going to anticipate whether somebody's pro or against. I'm going to let everybody have their opportunity to speak. I agree with you, Al. One thing the county does is they provide speaker slips, and it provides you an opportunity to speak on it, and it does allow they give them a yellow one if they're neutral, a red one if they're against, or a green one if they're for, and it also lets them say, hey, I showed up at the meeting and I'm just for the project and I don't want to speak at all. County of San Diego, the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors has a paid staff. I don't. It's me. We're trying to run these meetings. I feel like I'm doing a good job in making sure we're facilitating public comment. We're holding these meetings virtually. So I understand all those things. I don't know how to do that to that degree. I think everybody understands that sometimes focusing and making your points very clear and succinct is more effective. But I also know at the Board of Supervisors, they let people get up and people want to ramble on for a minute about whatever they want to ramble on for. They do it. So I'm going to kind of follow the standard protocol, if that's okay. So the April 6th, we'll get that out there. And then Justin, to your point, we can advertise it. And I don't expect, I'll be honest, I feel like we can get everybody who wants to speak and be able to speak in their time frame. Not everybody takes a full 3 minutes, and for those who want to take the full allotted time, they're absolutely within their right to do so. I'm going to make sure they have that opportunity to do it. So, Jim, any other vice chair updates?
No, thank you.
And Jennifer Swanson her call dropped off, so she's not able to provide her secretary update, or that she's actually accepted the role of secretary. We'll see. So, you laughed, Justin. You were gone last meeting, and so was Jennifer, and it was a coin flip. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I said, he's a busy guy, young kids, and Jennifer, you're going to do this, and I don't know if she was happy with me or not. We'll find out when she's back on the call.
I was like, I got lucky.
You escaped.
Yeah. I'd still taken the minute, so I don't know who's escaped yet. All right. Request for agenda items and upcoming meetings. Anything? One thing we did hear public comment for the second meeting in a row. I might look at our regular meeting in April to address the marijuana ordinance that the Board of Supervisors is addressing. I feel like that does land squarely within land use, just as like ABC permits do. And so I'm going to plan to have that on a meeting agenda, whether it's in April or May is depending. Then obviously Jim Bowles and the capital improvement needs assessment will address that one as well. No approval of expenses. Planning groups meeting April 22nd, and we can go ahead and add April 6th onto that. Subcommittees will be published in the newspaper and online. Planning Commission meets April 16th. Board of Supervisors meets April 6th and 7th. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, motion to adjourn. Mike Millen seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Good
opposed?
night.
Abstain? Hey, thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you everybody for attending. I really appreciate bearing with us through tonight's change in format. I think it was an improvement, so thank you.
Thank you, Travis.